How's it going everyone, TSM here and welcome back to 3rd Street Gaming. Today I thought I'd try something a bit different and take a break from the Mass Effect playthrough. Gaming challenges have been popular on YouTube for a while now, so I thought I'd try one for myself. So let's figure out if I can beat Skyrim as Gandalf the Grey. I have a few of these character focused challenges in mind and they will all share roughly the same rule set. I can only use equipment or magic that is directly related to the character. So for Gandalf, no armour, only one-handed swords, and the only magic I can use is with a staff. I am also not allowing myself to use dragon shouts except for the purpose of story progression. I think it's definitely possible, but will I be able to do it? I'm sure it can be done, I just suck. We'll have decent damage output, but I think due to the lack of armour, we're going to have to be really careful when going into close range combat. This is going to be a glass cannon kind of run. With all that said, let's get started. Not much to cover at the beginning, everyone knows how Skyrim starts. But for those who don't know, we get unfairly imprisoned, nearly have our head cut off, a dragon attacks, and I need to get the fuck out of Dodge. With regards to character creation, I decided to be a Breton due to the natural magic resistance. I think I'm going to need any buff I can get my hands on. I call myself Gandalf the Grey because that's hilarious. So I dash through the town and into some tunnels, pick up some wizard's robes so I'm not just a naked old man running around, beat up some of Shelob's children, sneak past a bear, and I'm outside. I did pick up a sword, but I'm not allowing myself to use it yet. At least not until I get a staff. Gandalf had his staff long before he had Glamdring, so Gandalf will have to be patient. I dash down the hill, punch some wolves, speak to Gerda, and she tells me that Riverwood will need soldiers to defend them against a dragon if it comes back. Not sure how much a couple of soldiers can do against a massive lizard that burned down a whole town, but we agree to go talk to the Jarl of Whiterun. On my way to the city, I get told off by this hunter chick for not getting involved in a fight against a giant, even though I'm an old man and I have no weapons to use. I don't enter the city yet, but instead take the horse and cart to Winterhold so I can get to the Mage's College. In this side plot, you get a pretty nice staff early on, and that's what I'm after. To get in, I need to pass a test and, bugger. The spell I'm given has a magicka cost of 1 higher than I can have at this moment. I think about what to do and decide that if I upgrade a skill that I'm not allowed to use to level up, then I'm only making the game harder for myself. So I craft a load of iron daggers, level up, and upgrade my magic. That's a level point I can't get back since I'm not able to use magicka points in this run. I go back to the college, cast a spell at the floor, and I'm in. I get shown around and I'm directed to my first and only lesson at the school where Tolfdir shows us how to cast wards, which sucks because this would be a quite handy skill to have as it blocks magic. After the lesson, we get told to go to Sarthal, an ancient ruin that the college is looking into. On the way, some dumbass necromancers decide to pick a fight with me, but being the mighty Gandalf, they are quickly dealt with. We arrive at Sarthal and go in, find some crappy enchanted rings, touch an amulet, and I'm locked inside. Since this old guy in front of me is a bit incompetent, he tells me to sling the amulet on to see what happens, I guess for shits and gigs. I see the wall I took it off is now looking a little bit weird, so I blast it down with some magic. I'm not using it in combat, so I'm allowing it. That frees the room up again. We walk through the tunnel that's just been found, and I'm contacted by a mystical hologram telling me to watch my ass cause shit's about to go down. Zombies attack, so I do the only thing I can and slap some bitches up. I keep going through and do some simple puzzles that I definitely didn't get stuck on, and then I remember the guy who's with me sells stuff, and there we go, I finally have a staff. Now I can equip my sword and start doing some damage. We go through and come into a room with a floating ball. This is where the only staff I'll really use is found. Dead guy in the chair gets pity that I took his walking stick from him, so I make sure he stays dead this time. I pick up a note on his body that could lead to a useful amulet to have, but as far as I'm aware, Gandalf never wore a necklace or amulet in the books or movies, so I decide for this run, I can't use it. I get sent back to the college, but decide to go get my sword first, the one that I'll mainly be using. If you use the Creator Club, then I can get access to a very nice one that looks probably as close to Glamdring as I'm going to get. I kill some bandits, almost dying in the process, get my sword, and we're set to go on our way. I head back to the college and speak with the Archmage and tell him what we found in Sarthal. He sends me to see the librarian, I read some books, and then this obviously not evil guy asks what I'm up to. I tell him to go sod himself and I peace out. Now, I wasn't intending to finish the college side story, I just wanted to get the staff and then get on with the main story. But seeing as how this elf geezer kinda looks like Sauron when he went by Anatar, I decided to say fuck it, I'ma kill this guy. Gandalf was sent to Middle-earth to help with dealing with Sauron after all, so he shall die. The librarian tells me that the books that would help with the floating testicle were stolen, so I go to the fort where the thieves are hiding, kill everyone, take the books back, and I go speak to Tolfdir about all this. Only to be interrupted by our Dark Lord and Saviour, asking why the hologram we saw earlier has rocked up asking to see me. He pauses time to tell me shit's gonna kick off soon and that I need to find the Alga of Dunlane. I don't know if I said that right, and I honestly don't care. I go speak to Tolfdir and decide to help a college student with an experiment on the way. She hits me with a spell, and it makes everything green. I've never actually done this before. Instead of going to see a doctor, I do what I do in the real world. When shit goes wrong with me, I just decide to ride it out. I'm told to go under the college and speak to a glowing light. It tells me that resistance is futile, that Danny Elfman has already spoken to it, and that the only way to stop this is to use the Staff of Magnus. After promising to make sure Skyrim won't be taken over, and that it's not the end of days, I speak to the Archmage who says that I need to go fetch this staff, because I'm the main character. Mirabelle has been looking into the staff and tells me where to find it. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that name. Just before I leave, the green tint that has been making me sick for the last 20 minutes fades, so I speak to the student again to see if her spell will work this time. She casts it, and... Ah! Oh my god! Oh my god! What the hell? What the fuck? Why? I GTFO to go and get this staff, making sure that this is never spoken of again. I arrive at the ruins and find a mage who does a classic find whoever speech before dying. I go through, help this other geezer out after telling him his mate just died, and then have to do this other puzzle. But seriously, how does this make sense? That I have to use fire and blizzard on this thing? You know, I really hate this game sometimes. It took me ages. I actually had to Google how to do this one. Anyway, I didn't record me solving it. Sorry, but I get what I was after anyway. I go to another ruin and see ghosts of other mages that were trying to do the same thing as me. I don't really pay attention to what they're saying, so I go through, kill a bone dragon, and decide to enchant a ring. I know that Gandalf's ring focuses on fire, but I haven't got anything like that, so I buff my health to try and make up for the no armour, and I carry on through, killing some undead and spirits as I go. I eventually come across an obvious boss room, kill some spirits with a solid sword because that makes sense, and then have to kill a dragon priest. I thought this was going to be tricky, but he just stood there and did nothing. I sniper him till my staff runs out of charge, and then he finally decides to move and attack me. I recharge my staff and eventually take him down, grabbing the Staff of Magnus. Now, I think I'm just being stupid, but I did use this staff for a bit because its effects seemed cool, but I didn't seem to do anything when I used it. Can someone in the comments explain how this staff works? Because I'm thick as pig shit, clearly. I head out of the ruin and I can't fast travel to the college, so clearly something is going on in Winterhold that I need to sort out. I get there and I'm told that Mirabelle died. That kinda sucks. Oh well. I blast at the weird aura until I get inside, don't bother listening to all the evil dialogue from Ancano, so I kill him. The order that called me by hologram turns up and decides to take away my bouncy ball, and just like that, I'm made head of the College of Winterhold, even though I've only been here like 3 days. Oh yeah, the Archmage died earlier. Anyway, after getting some new robes, I think it's time to just carry on with the main story. I helped out an elf archer earlier and go back to Riverwood to pick him up. Best to have an additional member with me, you know, just to help with some long-range damage. Be a bit of a Legolas. I give him some new armour, and we head to Whiterun. Once I get there, I tell the Jarl what happened, and he sends troops to Riverwood, even though it's been at least a week in game time since the dragon came through. Really attentive, this guy. He takes me to talk to his court wizard, and he sends me to Bleak Falls Barrow, the ruin we saw at the top of the mountain when we were on our way to Riverwood. We aren't told why we're doing this, or why it helps us with the immediate threat of a dragon flying about. We just decide to go and do it. I come across a small bandit outpost. There isn't a lot of great loot, but I'll take what I can get. We carry on, take the bandits that are actually outside the ruin. Not a lot of real challenges inside though. Weak bandits, couple of feral animals, and a giant spider that's never given me too much trouble in the past. Okay chance to level up on my one-handed skill against these guys. I free an elf trapped in a web and kill him straight away because he has the golden claw, something I need to progress further in the ruin. Draugrs are waking up all over the place and I have no quiet way to take them out, so I just slash them all up before they have the chance to do anything. I reach the puzzle door that I just do instinctively now because I've played this game so many times. We get the shout for force for the unrelenting force shout from a magic wall with symbols engraved all over it. I'm sure you all know about Fusrodar. Another undead bursts free from the coffin behind us, but like everything else I've been fighting recently, it's pretty damn easy. I take the tablet and go back to Whiterun. So when I get back and hand the tablet over, the Jarl's bodyguard runs in and tells us that a soldier has just run back from a nearby watchtower to say a dragon has been flying about. The Jarl asks me to fight the dragon, as I apparently have the most experience dealing with flying lizards. I have seen one once and spent my time running away from it. Not sure if you'd call that experience, but hey-oh. Don't worry guys, I'll perform this triple bypass surgery. I've seen a tutorial of it on YouTube. As soon as we get to the tower, the dragon comes back, so it's boss fight time. I've never used magic against a dragon before, so I wasn't sure how this battle would go, especially with no armour. But the backup from the soldiers helped, and it was taken out with little issue. I stand next to the dragon, it starts to kind of dissolve, and I absorb a weird mist from it. I shout, and pow, my breath is suddenly visible. Turns out I'm something called a Dragonborn. Don't know what that means, but I'm unable to fast travel to Dragon's Reach, so clearly something to advance the plot is about to happen. I head back to tell the Jarl what happened at the tower, and he tells me that it was the Greybeards who were calling me. I love how their way of contacting me is to stand outside their castle at the top of the tallest mountain in the region and just yell as loud as they can. The route to the Greybeards is long and kind of boring with no real threat along it. There is a frost troll on the way up the mountain that I normally find a bit tricky, but Gandalf at the moment is pretty OP. Once I meet the Greybeards, they have me practice my new shout and even power me up with the second of the words for it. They also teach me Whirlwind Sprint, a dash kind of move. Once my training is complete, they send me to retrieve the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. God, load of these names in these types of games are just really weird. They don't tell me where it is, but our Deus Ex Machina of a minimap knows, so I trust that over the knowledge of these wise old men. I enter another underground ruin filled with more undead and a few weak mages. Nothing to worry about. The only problem is this puzzle. I can't pass it without using the Whirlwind Sprint. But since in the rules I can use shouts for the sake of story progression, it's okay. We can carry on through and come to the final room to discover that the horn has already been taken by someone. I don't know how they were able to get here, as I needed dragon shouts, but I guess the story needs to progress somehow. We're told to go to Riverwood and rent the attic room at the inn. On the way there, I'm stopped by some cultists who claim I'm a fake Dragonborn and attack me. But I kill them because I'm too good. This is the Dragonborn DLC, and since it isn't related to the main story, we won't be doing it. We're told by the woman running the inn that there is no attic room, but there is one available over to the left. We walk in, and the woman immediately walks in after us to tell us she's the one that we're looking for. No sense of subtlety at all. Delphine tells me to trust her, even though she won't trust us when we say we're Dragonborn, and when she pretty much robbed us. She gives me the horn and tells me to head to a place marked on a map of dragon burial sites. Apparently dragons are coming back to life, and the only way to properly put one down is to devour the soul of said dragon. As the Dragonborn, I can do that. When we get there, a woman comes screaming down the hill that a dragon is attacking the exact burial mound that I'm looking for. We get there, and the dragon from the start of the game is shouting at the ground to resurrect one of his old dragon friends. Well, we deny him and kill his friend. Sorry, not sorry. Delphine now finally believes us and let me know that she's a member of the Blades. They haven't had much to do since the events of Elder Scrolls Oblivion, but now the dragons are back, they're wanting a piece of the action. She thinks the Thalmor are behind this, mainly because they're a bunch of high elf mages who are constantly trying to undermine people, so we have to go and infiltrate their headquarters. It's a tightly guarded place, and we will need to be careful. I meet up with her associate and hand over all the equipment I want smuggled into this party. So my staff, a sword, my robes, and some potions, that should do the trick. When I get to the party, I'm suddenly greeted by one of the hosts. I tell her my name, because unlike Gandalf, Ganjalf is a bit too slow to come up with a fake one on the spot. I meet my inside guy and he tells me to cause a distraction so I can sneak out. He hands me a drink, I speak to the first guy I see, and he says he will literally do anything for this exact bottle of wine. I tell him to cause the disturbance I need, and he accuses the host of sleeping with everyone at the party, which is kinda jokes. I think it's a shame that the only way you can proceed in this mission is to do this distraction. I would have liked it if there were multiple ways to get through, but oh well. The inside guy sneaks me through the kitchens to a chest where all my smuggled gear is stored. I throw on all my stuff and proceed through the embassy. This is one of the missions I was most concerned about, as I remember always having trouble fighting the elves in the embassy, but I managed to breeze through this quite easily. Since I'm just running around killing everyone, I'm amazed that the party hasn't been shut down, but I guess the Thalmor party like frat boys. I find the documents that advance the story, free a prisoner who has some useful info, and look up to see our inside guy is taken prisoner. I dash upstairs to save him, but he seems really ungrateful that I just stopped him getting killed, so I kill him too. Back at the inn, I get all the stuff I didn't smuggle into the party back and tell Delphine that the Thalmor know jack shit about what's going on with the dragons. Apparently they're looking for a guy named Esbern. She tells me that I can probably find him in the Ratways under Riften, so I head there. When I enter, the guy I'm meeting instantly calls me a crook and that I've done nothing honest to earn my money or gear. I tell him to get fucked and head into the Ratways. Some Thalmor are hanging around, so I quickly get rid of them. I meet Esbern and he says the world is coming to an end and all that woe is me bullshit. But the second after I tell him I'm a Dragonborn, he switches up and asks me to take him directly to Delphine. Fighting our way out, since the Thalmor show up, is even easier than getting in, as Esbern is a pretty solid magic user. Once we get back, he tells us about Alduin's Wall, an artifact that documents the last time Alduin was here, and something that should tell us how to defeat the dragons and stop them coming back altogether. So we head off to Skyhaven Temple. On the way, we have our scripted dragon fight, and fight some Forsworn. These guys are actually pretty strong, and I nearly go down a couple of times, but some minor healing fixed me up. While I'm heading through, I'm going to plug my other channels. You'll find links in the description to both. My main channel, where I just do some dumb shit, and my reaction channel, where I react to stuff. It's kind of in the name, isn't it? Anyway, this place only has a couple of easy puzzles, so no trouble. But then we get to a blood seal, where only the blood of a Dragonborn can open it. So I take a knife that I never had in my inventory, drag it across my hand, nothing comes out, and I'm in. Brilliant security, guys. Top-notch work. When inside, Esbern begins to explain the history of the Dragon Wars that have been carved into this wall by the blades. Not sure why, seeing as how stone erodes. I think the blades aren't too bright. He says we need a shout that can pull a dragon down from the sky, and since we have to head back to the Greybeards anyway to deliver the horn, I guess we're killing two birds with one stone. I go back to High Hrothgar and hand them the horn back. I am taught the final word of unrelenting force, and the Greybeards initiate me by whispering at me. After that, I talk to Arangar, and he says he won't teach me the shout because it was tried once and it failed, so the world is meant to end. I think both the Blades and Greybeards are a bit touched in the head. He gets yelled at by his boss, and then he decides he was being too emotional and to go talk to their leader Parthenax, who lives at the summit of the mountain. What he shouted at this guy to get him to change his mind? I don't know. I'm taught the Clear Sky shout to clear a way to the summit. A few ice waves are in the way, but nothing too serious. At the top, we meet Parthenax, and it turns out my guy's a dragon. The first thing he does is breathe fire on a wall, have us look at said wall, and then have us breathe fire on him, because apparently that's how dragons say hi. Now this bit with Parthenax is really long, and I can't be asked to go through the whole thing. Basically, the shout we were sent up here to learn, yeah, he won't teach us it. In fact, he can't. Dragons can't learn Dragonrend because it was a creation of humans, even though it still uses a dragon's native language. Doesn't make sense to me, but fuck it. More story needs to happen. It turns out that the Nords who were fighting Alduin the first time didn't dispel or banish him, only sent him forwards in time, so that's why he's here now. So they fucked up, and now we have to clean up after them. Parthenax thinks that if we can get our hands on an Elder Scroll, then we can look into the past, learn Dragonrend, and maybe even fix the rift in time that was caused by Alduin being sent forwards. It takes Parthenax about 10 to 15 minutes to explain all this, and I think I did it in about a minute. This guy needs to learn to speed the hell up. I ask about to see if anyone knows where I can find an Elder Scroll, and the College of Winterhold apparently might. So I head back to my school to speak with the librarian, and ask if he either knows about them or has them. This guy's response is to sass me, and ask if I think he would let me read it if he had one. This motherfucker, I'm your boss, you thick shit! He tells me a wizard travelled north years ago though, and he was studying the scrolls, so I head to the most northern part of Skyrim to see what's up. I get there, and he tells me that the scroll is located in Tamriel. For those of you who don't know Elder Scrolls lore, that's effectively the equivalent of saying, oh, you're looking for Jeff. Yeah, he's on Earth. He hands me a cube and a sphere, and the name of an ancient Dwemer ruin. This is the part I am most concerned about. Going into this ruin. The worker spiders and spheres are kind of okay to deal with, so are the Thalmor, but with no armour, the sentries, I think, are gonna be a bitch and a half to deal with. Luckily, I think I only have to fight one, so if I can get past that, the rest of the place shouldn't be too much trouble. I enter Blackreach and proceed through, trying to avoid as many traps as possible as they're quite lethal. The farther I go into the dungeon, the trickier it gets, and eventually I come across the Centurion I was worried about. If I keep my distance, just blast it with my staff, then I should be... Fuck. Well, that didn't go very well. Luckily, I don't have to get through very much before I'm back at that fight. This time, I throw every staff I have at this thing to kill it. I have to use a lot of my potions and even use a level up to heal, but it eventually goes down. Jeez. I carry on and end up in this vast underground city. I have never actually explored this area before in any playthrough, and I decide not to right now. I don't know what I'll find, and I have to carefully skirt around another 2 Centurions while avoiding fire from more Falmar. Eventually we arrive in the final room, and this puzzle has never made sense to me. In the 10 years that I've been playing Skyrim, I have never understood this puzzle. So I randomly press the buttons, grab the Elder Scroll, and return to the summit of the Throat of the World to speak with Paarthurnax. He tells us to read the scroll at the time wound to look into the past. We see what happened the first time, and we learn Dragonrend. After seeing Alduin get sent forward in time, we stop reading the scroll, look up, and Alduin is there, ready to fight me. Now this is where I need to use another shout. You see, in the air, Alduin can't be damaged, so Dragonrend is actually required to beat this fight. There are also meteors that are raining down on me through this fight, and I think that if you use clear skies, it stops it, but since that shout isn't required to beat this fight, we're not using it. We eventually beat Alduin and he pieces out. Paarthurnax tells us that if we want to finish Alduin off, then we need to get one of his friends to bring us to him, so our new plan is to trap a dragon. We head to Dragon's Reach and speak to the Jarl, but he says he won't agree to the plan while the war is currently raging on. In fact, the Jarl isn't thrilled about the idea in general, as it involves trapping a dragon in his palace. Can't say I really blame the guy. He says he'll consider it though if there is a truce between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks. They're a big part of the game, but only if you do the Civil War side quest storyline. They don't really impact with the main story. Short version, Stormcloaks are rebels who think the Empire's rule on Skyrim is a load of crap. They're not all wrong, it does seem like a hostile takeover, and the Empire isn't even acknowledging some of their gods. At the same time though, the Stormcloaks are just Nord supremacists who are actually kinda dicks. I prefer to side with the Empire when I do this story. I go to the Greybeards and request if they can host a peace talk for us. Both sides seem to respect the Greybeards, so this plan seems as good as I can make it right now. I speak to Jarl Ulfric and General Tullius to get them to come to the truce talks. Neither takes the idea seriously and only go as a courtesy. Once there, Ulfric instantly begins demanding the control of cities from the Empire, and we're left to play tiebreaker a lot of the time. Eventually, Ulfric gets pissed and accuses me of being disloyal to Skyrim, even though I'm a Breton. I don't come from Skyrim. People have to speak up to remind everyone why we're here, and eventually the two sides agree to a ceasefire, and they trade a couple of cities. After that, I have a quick talk with Esbern, who tells me the name of a dragon who I can use to take me to Alduin. We head back to Whiterun and spring the trap on the dragon Odahviing. I hope I pronounced that right. I lure him in, spring the trap. Now, I don't understand why he can't break free from this. My man can breathe fire, and the trap is made of wood. I hope Elder Scrolls 6 won't be as full of plot holes. We can convince Odahviing to take us to Alduin, and from here on out, we're on our own. I say goodbye to my elf follower, and fly off into the distance. We arrive in an area filled with undead and a bunch of dragons flying around. I take out the Draugr and avoid the dragons. I can't be bothered to fight them. I dash through, solve some easy puzzles, and sprint into the portal. So, Sovngarde. We run through the fog that has nothing in it, speak to this hulking man, and we have to fight him to gain entrance to the Hall of Valor. Pretty easy fight, nothing to worry about. We go in and we're met by the Nords who fought Alduin the first time. They don't really tell any plot details, only saying we're going to kick Alduin's ass and take his lunch money like high school bullies. We all charge outside, and to get him to show up, we need to clear the fog away. Once he does show up, we again have to use Dragonrend so we can hit him. But with a pretty strong sword and staff and 4 other guys slicing away at him, the fight is over pretty quickly. We watch Alduin explode, and we speak to Beorn, who sends us back to the world of the living, ending the run and proving you can beat Skyrim as Gandalf the Grey. That was actually pretty fun. I was expecting it to be trickier due to the no armor, but we managed to do this pretty easily. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Instagram at 3rd Street Man. Also, comment down below on what other challenges you want to see me try. I have a couple of other Skyrim challenges filmed, and I'm currently doing a Mass Effect Legendary playthrough, so be sure to check all those out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.